If you like our content, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get alerts when we introduce new videos.
Welcome to the demonstration series for the RUCKUS SmartZone controller based on a high-scale deployment of the version 5.2 release. The videos in this series will show you the basic configuration of many aspects of the controller. In this video, I'll provide an example of how to configure and test Radius authentication services. So let's get started. First, we'll log into a high-scale instance of the virtual SmartZone controller. Once logged in, you can see that this instance is running version 5.2.0.0.699, or simply referred to as 5.2. In this release, authentication can be performed by Radius, Active Directory, and LDAP servers. I'll be demonstrating Radius only. While I will be showing some Radius server information, the demonstration will not provide instruction on how to configure the actual Radius server. Radius authentication is configured by selecting Services and Profiles, then Authentication on the left side pane of the SmartZone dashboard. The first active tab is the non-proxy AP Authenticator tab. This is where you configure authentication when the AP is the authenticator, or in Radius terms, the AP is the supplicant. For example, in this mode, 802.1x wireless clients will provide credentials for access, and the AP can act as the trusted authenticator to validate those credentials with the Radius server and allow or deny client access based on the result. In this mode, each AP in the zone must be configured as a NAS, or Network Access Server, on the Radius server. Here you can see each of my APs are configured as NAS clients. To configure the server settings, navigate to the zone that uses the server for authentication and click the Create button. In the pop-up, provide the necessary parameters. First, you must provide a name. I'll go with non-proxy Radius auth. You can provide an optional description, and the type field is where you select whether you're using Radius, Active Directory, or LDAP. Clicking on each changes the configurable fields below that are necessary for the selected service. We'll select Radius. If you toggle the backup Radius switch to on, configurable fields for a secondary Radius server appear. As you can see, each server can have unique IP, port, and secret parameters. Since I only have one server, I'll set this to off. For each server, you must provide the IP address, then the port. The default Radius port number is UDP port 1812. If your server uses a different port, it can be defined here. Then you have to input the shared secret 2 times. This shared secret is what identifies the AP as a trusted authenticator or supplicant. You can also configure user role mapping, which allows the automatic assignment of user roles and traffic policies based on the client. However, the configuration of user role mapping is beyond the scope of this demonstration. Finally, you click OK to save your server settings. Back in the main tab, you can test the server functionality by highlighting the configured server and clicking the Test AAA button. Now, there are prerequisites necessary. First, you must have the SmartZone controller's IP address configured as a NAS on your Radius server. This is necessary because it's the SmartZone that is sending the test to the server, not the APs. Second, you must have a user configured on the Radius server. As you can see, I have a couple configured here, and I'm going to use the VSZ-test user. Back at the Test AAA servers pop-up, I'll select the server from the drop-down. Then I have the option of testing with PAP or CHAP authentication protocols. Your choice will be dependent on what your server supports. My server supports both. Next, input the username and password and click the Test button. If the Radius server configuration and the provided credentials are correct, you should receive a success message. And if the test does fail, as I'll make it do by entering the password incorrectly, a failure reason will be provided. Okay, next let's navigate over to the Proxy SZ Authenticator tab. This tab is selected when you want the SmartZone controller to be the trusted authenticator for clients instead of the APs. The benefit of this is that you require fewer NAS on the Radius server, potentially a few controllers instead of hundreds of APs. Proxy authentication is configured at the domain level instead of the zone level, so select a domain where you want to make the server available and click the Create button. The configuration is very similar to the non-proxy, except here you have the option for RFC 5580 support, which provides AP location information in the exchanges. Then below you have configurable timers to monitor the health of the Radius servers. And finally, you can configure rate limits on the number of outstanding requests sent to the server. We'll configure the basics here and test. I'll call it proxy radius auth, provide the IP address, input the shared secret twice, and click OK to save it. The testing is exactly the same as with non-proxy. Select your AAA server, select your authentication protocol, enter the user credentials, and click Test. Success. This concludes the demonstration on configuring authentication to a Radius server on a high-scale SmartZone controller running release 5.2. Thanks for taking the time to view this demonstration.